In every cycle, there's this type of builder who gets discouraged because people are focusing on something that's a bit more speculative in nature as opposed to something productive. I can understand where they're coming from, but I think it's totally the wrong framing. The lack of market thinking or product or user thinking in crypto is just annoys me, but build something people want so that they don't pay attention to meme coins.
This episode is brought to you by Chaos Labs, one of the leading on-chain risk management firms. You'll be hearing more from them later in the show. This episode is brought to you by Ledger, the most secure hardware wallet trusted by 7 million users and securing 20% of the world's digital assets. We'll be hearing more from them later in the show. If you like the Lightspeed podcast, then you need to subscribe to the Lightspeed newsletter, written by a team including yours truly and delivered to your email inbox daily. Lightspeed is your essential daily briefing on all things Solana. Exclusive news, deep analysis, and the latest trends delivered in a way that's digestible and, I think, sometimes kind of funny. Stay ahead of the curve with the same insights that guide readers from Brevin Howard, Gemini, Jito, CME Group, Solana Labs, and Foundation, and many more. The link to sign up can be found in today's show notes or if you go to blockworks.co. Subscribe to the Lightspeed newsletter today. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Lightspeed. I'm your host, Jack Kubanek, joined today by my co-host, Mert Mumtaz. Mert, always fun to do these with you, and you're dressed up to the nines today because you were just on television.
Yeah, I was just on CNBC, and basically I realized this last night because I looked at the email that they sent me, and they said, we kindly request that you wear a jacket or business casual. And then I was like, wait, holy shit, I have nothing that's business casual. And so this morning I went to the mall, picked up a dress shirt and a jacket and some pants. And then I was like, there we go.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I sometimes forget how not normal it is that, like, how informal crypto kind of is because, yeah, all of my friends have to, wear their business casual attire. But I remember the first day I was an intern at Blockworks in college and, all bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, excited to go in. And I wore like a collared shirt and some nice pants. And I get to the Blockworks office and everyone's like, who is this dweeb, dressing up for a crypto job? But how was it overall? I'm interested, I'm sure the clip will come out soon, but I'm interested what they wanted to talk to you about.
They wanted to know what's driving the recent growth of Solana. They wanted to know what I think of meme coins and Pump.fun. They asked about Helios and how to think about it. They asked about the Solana ETFs. And everything was generally constrained to something around those topics. It was pretty short, 5-6 minutes.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. But it was like the UAE CNBC equivalent or something like this?
It's called CNBC Arabia. So I believe it's the Middle East one. And yeah, I mean, they'll drop a YouTube link and then I think it goes live in 2 weeks.
Okay, cool.
I told my team, hey, I'm going to go live, tune in here. And then they were all like, what the hell? And then I found out that it doesn't go live for a while. Same with my dad.
That's really surprising to me that they would wait 2 weeks. Like, I feel like if you're a financial news outlet, you need to be getting stuff out quickly because markets change all the time. But I don't know. Maybe
it's just for the segment, I believe they're not, obviously CNBC is not a crypto specific outlet. So this is a specific crypto segment that they have. So it was fun. We'll see. I got to drop in increased bandwidth, reduced latency naturally in there. So hopefully it came out as smooth as I thought, but we'll see.
Crazy. Well, congrats on the TV appearance. That's big stuff. I am yet to go on TV. CNBC, if you're watching. I'm a free agent. I got time. Just ask me. It's also been a big week for you, Mert, as a known, Twitter poster. Solana hit an all-time high. You were posting many, many receipts. I had to log off at one point. How's that been for you? It seems like this is your Super Bowl a little bit when Solana hits an all-time high. Your Twitter game got very accelerated.
Yeah, I held back quite a bit as well. Basically, I wouldn't say the Super Bowl, because obviously job is not finished and it will not be for a very long time. It was more so, let's say, some vindication, because when we were going through those times in real time in 2022 or even 2023, it was hard. I mean, it's still very hard. It's a different type of hard, but basically a lot of personal sacrifices, not going out, neglecting date night, things like this, not eating properly, takes a toll on your health. Starting a company while people talk shit about the chain that you're building the company on, all these things. And while maybe 1% of the feedback was fair, most of the feedback was just outright charlatanry. It was just straight up false or nonsense made up by people who simply had bags in other ecosystems who want to see this other ecosystem die for some reason. So that really pissed me off. And as a result, internally, I was like, you're going to do this? Okay. I will just save this for when we come back. And so that's what I did. And I'm sure there will be other tumultuous times in the future, ups and downs, and Solana might go down, have an outage, whatnot. It doesn't matter because we're just going to come back. So felt vindicated there for 6-7 hours. And then I was like, oh shit, there's still a lot of work to be done. That's enough.
Yeah. I was pretty surprised, actually. I didn't necessarily foresee a new Solana all-time high in 2024, but definitely give Solana its flowers. One of the few assets, like major cryptos, to hit an all-time high this cycle. BNB hit an all-time high, I learned, which nobody talked about. I thought that was very funny, but yeah, exciting times. And just remember, listen, whatever you tweet, however good you're feeling, if you want to dunk on another ecosystem, those receipts are always going to be around. So just bear in mind, those things don't go away. But yeah, exciting times in the Solana world. Congratulations to you if you're a Solana holder. But okay, we got a roundup this week. It's I think the big thing on everyone's mind, and what you mentioned, Mert, CNBC wanted to talk about with you, is some of the controversy surrounding Pump.fun. I'm a little mad at myself that I didn't hit this sooner, because this is true. I had a plan before all the Pump.fun stuff happened, just to have a conversation about meme coins of like, are there potential downsides? Are there negative externalities that people aren't talking about enough? I guess just to quickly summarize for people who aren't on crypto Twitter or whatever, Pump.fun is a Solana meme coin launchpad. Anyone can launch a crypto token on Solana for like around $2. And it has a live stream function that people can use to, I don't know, try to create excitement around their token. A lot of these live streams, very benign. People playing the piano, there's like an anti-cancer coin, which is awesome. But Pump.fun has also always had kind of an edgier side. It allows porn. It allows, racially insensitive stuff that other social media might not allow. And this past weekend, there was just like some violent and disturbing kind of stuff. Someone beheaded a chicken on a live stream. People were like threatening to do violent things unless their token hit a certain market cap. This was sort of an inflection point. Lots of people started kind of calling for Pump.fun to take down or rein in live streaming. And eventually on Monday, they did do that in the afternoon. I was also, this is an aside, but I was the first person in the world, I believe, to notice that Pump.fun had taken down live streams, because I was working on a newsletter. I refreshed and I saw that the toggle had gone away. And I was trying to go on Polymarket and then realized it wasn't available in the US. I couldn't like get a VPN in time or anything like this. And so I totally missed out on this. It was like a 20% chance that they banned it. And then I got scooped by all of these big, like, DGen news engagement accounts. It was a very sad day for me. I need to up my breaking news Twitter game. But that's a summary of the situation. Hopefully not too long-winded. Mert, let's just start simple. What's the takeaway here? How big of a deal is it?
The way I understand it, and I've talked to the team and other people, is the live stream is not a super new feature, but it is a newer feature. And the Pump team does have content moderation, and a specific content moderation team, in fact. And I believe what happened is that they went very, very viral very quickly. And so let's say you put yourself in the shoes of Pump.fun people, and you're looking at your numbers and you're like, oh shit, we're getting 1,000 new live streams per minute or something like that. And you're just trying to make sure that the streams stay up because there's also technical problems. And then you're a startup and all these other things are happening. And then the content moderation team obviously has to scale at that same rate as the users. And that's very hard. It's, in fact, I wouldn't even say content moderation is that solved of a problem anywhere. Even, let's say, during the war or the October attacks from Israel, Palestine, that sort of stuff, you saw dead bodies all over the feed, at least I did, and lots of very graphic and gory stuff. And that's Twitter. And they're masters at that. So I believe what happened is they simply did not have the tech, or let's say the processes in place to scale content moderation at that rate. And I think that's fair. I don't really see how anybody could. I'd try to put myself in their position, and perhaps the live stream could have been paused slightly sooner, but just guessing out loud here, there's weird things that start happening when you do that with legal, like admitting fault and things like this. And it just gets weird. So it's not as simple as everybody seems to think it is. And I believe it's the right choice. So pausing the live streams, obviously a right choice, because people don't quite understand the implications of decentralization or permissionlessness. The blockchain itself, which is where you store the data, that's decentralized and permissionless, so you can store whatever there. But for example, in this case, Solana is not storing live streams. That's not how it works. The live stream is simply a component of a centralized front end. And front ends are mostly centralized. And so you can have, let's say, free speech in that you publish stuff on the blockchain in terms of data. But no, if you're a distributor and you're distributing these things, that's a totally different thing. And then you have to obviously apply local jurisdiction regulations and things like that. So anyway, that's my take on it. I believe it's the right choice. I do think it's super stupid that people started blaming, quote unquote, Solana for this, whatever that means. All these weird opportunists from other ecosystems, as they did in 2022, started coming around and saying, oh, this is the Solana social layer, or, oh, Solana promotes this and stuff. And it's like, no, that Solana is a blockchain and people put stuff on it. And the live stream wasn't one of them. And it's also a technology. It's not a person. So hope that helps.
Chaos Labs, the leading on-chain risk management firm, recently launched its new flagship Oracle product, Edge, which delivers integrated, high-precision risk and price data for any on-chain application with a market. Edge emerged from stealth after 2 months, securing Jupiter, the top swap platform on Solana, already securing $30 billion in volume and more than 60% of all Solana perps volume. Edge is comprised of 3 components: price, risk, and proofs. It delivers high-precision price data with an integrated risk engine powered by Chaos's advanced outlier and anomaly detection algorithm. It automates delivery of real-time parameter adjustments on-chain based on current market conditions, and it enables the secure on-chain delivery of custom data points, including reserve attestations delivered via ZKPs. Most recently, Wintermute announced its selection of the Edge Proofs Oracle for Outcome Market, its new smart contract-based election prediction market tool. Thank you to Chaos Labs for making this episode possible. Celebrating 10 years of innovation, Ledger remains the most secure hardware wallet for your Solana and logins, trusted by 7 million users and securing 20% of the world's digital assets. In recent years, Ledger has built a robust ecosystem of products and services, making digital ownership more secure and accessible to everyone. Ledger's newest devices, Ledger Stacks and Ledger Flex, feature the world's first secure touchscreens, making it easier and safer to manage your Solana transactions and coins. With Ledger Live, you can seamlessly and securely manage and stake your SOL. Alongside Ledger Stacks and Ledger Flex, Ledger introduced the Ledger Security Key app, a safer alternative to traditional passwords, enhancing your overall digital security. During Black Friday, upgrade to Ledger Flex and get $70 in Bitcoin. Plus, save up to 40% on select Ledger Nano wallets and accessories. Hurry, because these offers are valid until December 5th while supplies last. So, there's two sides to this, right? There's Pump.fun, the business, and then there's meme coins as a sector. And they're on Solana currently, they're more or less the same thing. A lot of meme coins come from Pump.fun, but they are slightly different. I think this event was noteworthy for Pump.fun as a business because it's not new to criticism. When it launched or started getting really big, people started noticing like, hey, there's these like racist tokens or something. And there was like some media coverage of that. And Pump.fun didn't really do anything. Whenever it's been criticized as a rule of thumb throughout its under a year existence, it just will troll on its Twitter account or something like that. And it's really never, as far as I can tell, it pretty rarely like responds to criticism by taking some kind of action like disabling a feature. But this particular criticism really hit home. So I don't know what the conversations were like behind closed doors, but I think it is notable that really for the first time, Pump.fun actually like responded to criticism and took down a feature. And I think probably the right decision from a business perspective to do so. I think, as you said, content moderation is really hard. This was always a thought that I had. I actually searched through my old tweets to try to find it because I was like, oh, I called it that they were going to have content moderation issues soon. But I think it was just a Slack message I sent or something. But it's not unexpected that this would be a problem. So that's Pump.fun as a business. I think for meme coins writ large, I kind of wonder if there's more of a conversation to be had. Because as you said, Mert, blockchains are permissionless. Anyone can do anything with block space. And in general, it's kind of frowned upon in the crypto world and in Solana, I think, to tell people how they should and shouldn't use the blockchain. But I do wonder if there are negative externalities to Solana that come from how big meme coins are that maybe aren't fully addressed or thought out because there's just this instinctive, well, people can use block space how they want. And I guess maybe a starting point could be we'll often compare blockchains to cities because it gives you something real world as a basis for comparison. So like in every city, there are casinos, right? Because casinos are businesses, there's demand for them, and so people build them. In, I would say, vibrant cities, there are a couple of casinos. There's maybe a district where you can go to bet on sports games and whatnot. But this week I was thinking about my older sister who lives in I won't call it out, but she lives in a more economically disadvantaged city in Europe. And I visited recently and I was shocked how many casinos there were. There weren't a lot of productive businesses in this city, but there was like a casino on every block. And I think, one of the issues with this is a lot of the economic value then goes to the casino because in the short term, you can kind of squeeze money out of whatever financial value there is in this city, but it doesn't create sustainable, flourishing, long-term economy. And parts of upstate New York are like this as well. Casinos can kind of have a negative impact on a community. And if you look at meme coins sort of like a casino, it's speculating on token prices that don't really have fundamentals. I just wonder if, you run into a bit of a tragedy of the commons where resources and attention are devoted to meme coins that could otherwise be put on more long-term, productive kinds of businesses. So that's maybe a starting point, but I don't know. What's your take on this, Mert?
In every cycle, there's this type of builder who gets discouraged because people are focusing on something that's a bit more speculative in nature as opposed to something productive. And I can understand where they're coming from, but I think it's totally the wrong framing, because attention is not zero sum if you look at the totality of it. And what I mean by that is, assume you built something that lets you send money to your grandparents with zero latency, zero fees, and it's instant, something like this. And then let's say your grandma's sick and you need to actually send her money so she can pay for some medicine. Okay. Does the fact that meme coins exist mean you will not use this application? Of course not. And so the point with that is that the reason that framing, I think, is ultimately counterproductive is because memes get attention because it has found a market that it actually serves. Meaning there's people who want to speculate, permissionless, without permission. And those are the people that flock to these apps, right? They want to get rich, or maybe they want to get poor. They want to play games, they like the thrill, they like speculating, they like the social element, all these things. That's the people that it's attracting. But you're not going to attract my grandfather to ape some shit coins, because he just doesn't care. It's not the targeted market. And so it's not zero sum. And my answer is, if you are not happy with what meme coins or how much attention they have, nobody's stopping you from building something else that people also can pay attention to, right? If you think that you can build something that is worthwhile for a specific market, then that's totally independent of this meme coin stuff, right? I'm going to use stable coins to make cross-border payments. I just did that, actually, from Canada to Dubai. Regardless of meme coins exist, I don't trade meme coins myself. And the other part of this is that of course, it's not a Solana specific thing. It's a crypto thing. Speculative cycles are a crypto phenomenon. They existed long before Solana existed, right? First, maybe it was the coins, ICOs, NFTs, shit coins now. And this is just going to keep happening. And from a blockchain perspective, what you care about is making tokens easy to work with, right? You can create a token, you can trade the token, you can move the token around, the token is secure, all these things. And it just so happens that Solana is the best place to do that. And as a result, Solana gets those types of apps launching on it. But obviously, a meme coin is not specific, or a token is not specific to meme coins. A token can be anything. A token can be for, let's say, this new DeFi stuff. It can be for, again, stables. It can be for restaking. It can be all these different things. And so and then, of course, the other part of this is that people who trolled Solana the whole time for the past year, 2 years about meme coins are now literally putting contract addresses on Twitter and shilling 5K market cap shitters while saying Solana was the pump and dump one. So again, it's a crypto thing that kind of just proves that. And so anyway, short answer, build something people want. And another analogy, just while I'm here. If Apple makes shitty AirPods, that's not going to stop me from getting a MacBook, because I still think MacBook is the best laptop, right? So these are just different markets, and the lack of market thinking or product or user thinking in crypto is just annoys me. But build something people want so that they don't pay attention to meme coins.
I do agree with you on the point that attention is not zero sum, but I do think that at some level, resources are zero sum. There's only so many businesses and so many developers and things. And I also think that there are very real reputational risks that come from Solana coming to be seen as the meme coin chain, right? Does that if and when a Solana ETF gets approved? Does someone's grandpa who might be putting some of their assets into Solana, Google the asset, see that it's really associated with meme coins, says, I don't like this. I prefer something like Bitcoin's digital gold narrative, and they don't invest in the asset. So I kind of feel like for a long time, like Solana thought leaders, if you want to call them that, have said, meme coins are great because they stress test the network. And so we're getting good at seeing what like a decentralized NASDAQ would function like, because we have to deal with so much demand for block space. And B, if these people are into meme coins, they're basically like, look, we're financializing memes or attention. It's this new frontier of money. And I don't know. I just wonder if there is also a need or space for kind of a, are meme coins good at all type of conversation in Solana. I kind of look at Ethereum for this. I was like DMing with a Twitter friend who was talking about all of, on Ethereum, they'll do this like public goods funding, or they'll do, they'll have like regens, quote unquote, as opposed to degens. And I think on crypto Twitter, this kind of gets panned as like, you're being a scold, and it's not up to you to tell people how they can and can't use Ethereum and whatnot. But I do wonder if there is some positive, like the community for a blockchain intervening to try to, I don't know, shift the way that the blockchain is being used. I do sort of admire that about Ethereum. Although, as you pointed out, Mert, I think even Ethereum now is sadly kind of going that direction of saying, hey, we want some of that sweet meme coin volume. So I don't know if anyone is necessarily solving this, and maybe I'm off base, but I don't know. I think there's a bigger conversation to be had, at least than what
nobody's gonna not use something because a few guys on Twitter told you not to use it, especially if they actually want to use it, right? And I can make a similar argument that Solana has affordable gas fees while Ethereum didn't for 8 years, right? And then I can say, well, actually, this is probably better for the general public if they want to do anything. So public good. And by the way, Solana also had quadratic funding with, I believe it was something by my friend Irfan. He also did it. And then there's also like, let's make no mistake here. There's tons of other things going on, right? There's DePIN, there's payments, there is Futurarchy, which is pretty cool. I think Jupiter is also a very good experience, but also Camino is starting to punch above its weight. A lot of teams are migrating behind the scenes. So fundamentally, once a blockchain hits a certain threshold of, let's say, eyes, then those eyes will do things that people, let's say even the majority of the people on that blockchain don't really like. But what can they do about it? They can say on Twitter something like, I don't like this, less of this or something. And to be fair, people on Solana do that. Obviously not all of them, because it's not a homogenous, let's say, culture. But just like how people, let's say, troll Vitalik, even on Ethereum for this public good stuff, people also don't like memes on Solana sometimes. So again, there have been like 5 meme coins about me, and there's been tons of meme coins thrown my way. I have never shelled a meme coin, and I don't trade them. The only coin I actually liked for, let's say, the good of the ecosystem, and I still do, is Bonk, because when Solana was like $9, they just airdropped free money to a bunch of developer communities. And we were actually able to use those funds to throw hackathons. And those are big hackathons, and build some cool shit. Actually, we even had incentives for open source and code. And so like it can go both ways. Obviously, human nature, I don't want to get all Freudian here, but it's not always going to go that way, and probably most likely won't. But certainly, once an ecosystem gets big enough, everybody has the problem of a few people shitting in the pool, right? And so what do? Do you say that's not allowed? Because if you do that, you're censoring. If you don't do that, then people might say, well, it's going to lead to weird externalities. And it's like, yeah, probably. But then, that's what blockchains are. So
yeah. One other stat I'd wanted to point out just to put the meme coin usage in context a little bit. It's hard to measure precisely, how much attention goes to meme coins versus other things. But I was looking on Blockworks research today, and meme coins have made up more than 50% of Solana DEX volume every week since the first week of March. So for most of 2024, more than half of what's getting traded on decentralized exchanges is meme coins, largely coming from Pump.fun. There's also Yash from Send Coin, who's a great contributor to the Lightspeed community. He's in the Telegram a lot. He linked a tweet today showing that spot volumes on like centralized exchanges for Sol, the asset, are also up a bunch. And so that's something you obviously need to measure as well, because presumably people that are buying Solana are not as much, they could be doing other things with it than trading memes, but it is, more than half of DEX volumes for most of the year. I guess a question for you, Mert, that I don't have quite settled, but I just want to think out loud and see what you think about it a little bit. I mentioned some of the potential negative externalities that come from meme coins. So things like reputational risk. Um, I was thinking, like, with as more than half of DEX volumes being meme coins, is there a way on the developer side or on just the broader arc of the network side that if meme coins continue to dominate, like, as a use case for Solana, do you go down the wrong road? Do you develop a kind of network that you shouldn't because of meme coins? Or are the goals essentially the same, whether right now people are trading meme coins or sending money to their grandma? Is there, do you see what I'm kind of getting at here? I don't have a settled feeling, but I'm curious what your take is.
yeah, well, the answer is very simple, which is we focus on increasing bandwidth and reducing latency. And Akshay, who is the unofficial not head of marketing at Solana Foundation, released something called the FAT thesis, which is a play on words for the old FAT thesis, which says founders, apps, and tokens. And you then combine that with Tolly's vision of decentralized NASDAQ. And fundamentally, these are tokens. And a blockchain needs to be able to enable permissionless capital markets and facilitate the transfer of value in an efficient way, in a fast way, in a decentralized way, all these things. Once you do that, that value might be speculative value. But the, let's say, development of the network is not affected by if it's a meme coin or not, right? So a good example is last cycle NFTs. NFTs were, people were trying to mint these things and they were botting them and they were DDoSing the network. And that actually led to architectural changes to enable higher or first better fee markets, but also better throughput handling and network activity handling. And so now Solana, where it would have went down before, did not go down during all the meme coin things, right? Due to the activity. Now experience degraded at certain points. And so obviously that's not good, but fundamentally, and by the way, you should ask yourself, who's actually trading these things? And, obviously there's a lot of degens and stuff, but also there's reputable institutions actually trading these coins. And one day it's, something with headgear, and the other it's RWAs or NFTs or tickets or something that has different value. And as a blockchain, all you can do is, how do we make sure that the system scales with increased attention and activity? How do we make sure that the fees are affordable for people? How do we make sure it still stays secure and alive, such that people can actually use it? And so that part, it doesn't matter. And so this is what we do my stress tests, because it's just a token is just a container, right? It's like the token needs to be functional and its facilitation through the system needs to be functional, regardless of what the name of the token is. And so you like, I would personally like to see, obviously, and I've been saying this for many years, and it's also why I started Helios, more applications that are, let's say, a bit more productive, such that I can actually use them for something. Because I get bored by speculating personally, but I mean, some people don't, but I do. And so I'd like to use it for other things. And so, but we can use these same systems to do those, and those systems are now stronger. And so we'll see. But like the inherent, or for example, one of the things that this is opened up to is like the quoting mechanism for prices and slippage and all these things in MEV. That stuff would have happened with other tokens as well. It doesn't matter if they're meme coins or not. And so now that we see these problems, we can fix them. And it's just free testing for us, really. And fundamentally, a blockchain just sells block space to willing purchasers, right? If you're paying fees to be included in this block space, if you're paying more than others, et cetera, that's just how a market works.
Yes, something I used to think that I no longer do is that there were ways to, like, that not everything that uses blockchain rails needs to be financialized. I remember we did an interview with Chris from Dialect, and I kind of asked him about this, like, hey, when you talk about social fi, like, does it need to be fi? Can it just be crypto social that's free and has some like blockchain things that it does? And he was like, well, no, like the financial use cases are the point. Like that's what's interesting about them. And I think like crypto stuff needs to be financialized to be useful at the end of the day. And maybe that like gets rid of some of the more fun viral apps, or if it's going to go viral, it might be something like meme coins. But I have started to buy into that vision more, that financialization is kind of what you do with crypto and blockchain. I guess one other thing, Mert, I want to ask you about is just
I would challenge that actually.
oh yeah,
I
please.
know many people do think that way, and probably rightfully so. I think a lot of people think it's, that's where my currency is money and stuff comes from. And I do think, yeah, obviously finance is the biggest application and all different types of it. I don't think it's the only one. I think, for example, when you have global shared states, you can put things that are not financial, but that benefit from a lack of walled gardens. Things like identity, things like ZK proving certain things, or requirements, credibility, et cetera, all these things. Messaging, even, although messaging might be a little, I don't think you actually need a blockchain for that, but the non-financial use cases are possible. They're just, I think this is one of those things that will take 5 to 10 more years until we really see them, because it requires really different type of thinking, which only comes from insane people, and insane people do not come around too often, right? So, but yes, probably 95% of all use cases are financial, but I do think there's a lot of use cases. Like I still think just having all my identity in a ZK like encrypted way on one thing that I can just simply hold with a private key is very useful. And being able to move that around different kind of systems. Personally,
Yeah,
maybe that's not, yeah.
point taken. But and presumably there would be like a financial aspect to that. So with things like tickets, I really kind of like blockchain ticketing as an idea in theory, because it just sucks to have like a Ticketmaster account, and Ticketmaster makes you change your password every like 3 years or something. So I just had to change it to a password I never use. And like if this was all in the blockchain, I feel like stuff is traceable and just much easier. But then it's to accomplish something financial. I guess like government records or something, if they lived on a blockchain database, would not be financialized. But point taken,
Yeah, I
there
mean,
are non-financial
just
uses.
value, right? Like if you accept the thing premise that blockchains help facilitate value, the most obvious value is financial and payments and money and all this stuff. But value is not only constrained to that. Data is also value. And so being able to move around data could be interesting. I don't know. Just riffing out loud.
But let me ask you this, Mert. You talk a good bit about like, or I think you had a tweet somewhere that was like, the issue is not meme coins, it's short-termism. It's an oversimplification of what you're saying. But I think one critique you can make of meme coins and like speculation is that it creates very short-term thinking, where it's like, how can I book a return fast, get my exit, show my LPs how much money I made. So is that not a thing here? Like, do you think that's an issue that meme coins create? Is instead of building for 5 years down the road when this can be a really interesting app, I'm building for what currently right now works, which is sort of speculating on token prices?
Well, that's been around, and I actually have tweets about this long before meme coins ever took off. And because it's just if the word token is involved, it's gonna happen. So ICOs, obviously, this happened colossally. NFTs, this happened, or just infrastructure tokens, right? Where you are building something for the sake of building it because you know that the market will buy it based on similar comparisons. Let's say it's an L1. And so as a result, you build for the buyer as opposed to the user, who are not always the same people. And in the crypto case, almost never the same people for some reason. And so one of the greatest things that regular startups have is that the equity is vested, but also the liquidity is not very liquid, right? The value that you have is not very liquid. The only real way you could have done it back in the day was you go public, and that's hard. To go public, you need to build a real business. You need to generate cash flow. You need to optimize margins. You need to explain your business. You need to get all these different things, or you get acquired, right? That's it. And so while you still have incentives for getting rich and just kind of refurbishing companies for sale, et cetera, and some people do that, the overwhelming incentive is to actually build something huge with huge scale for all humans, such that it makes huge money and such that you can kind of do both at the same time. Versus in crypto, you can build something totally useless and instantly, due to the liquidity aspect of it and the incentives and this, also the social element of crypto, right? Where it's much more social than something like a private equity Web2 startup, right? Like, what is the most social Web2 startup? Social media, that's it. And it's like, all you can do is use it and talk about it on that platform. Versus crypto, it's like, wait a minute, if I buy this, but I also convince others to buy it, but then also I like the tweets of everybody else who buys it, then maybe my bags will go up, and it starts getting super weird. And so that's, in my view, the actual problem. Because one, builders who are, let's say, started with good intentions are now like, wait a minute, this guy just built something way worse than my products, but made 100 times the money. Or that's why people get attracted in the first place, right? Those are the two overwhelming things. There's the third one, is like somebody that's just basically insane who says, okay, I don't really give a shit about money. I just want to build something that actually benefits people at scale, and it's a great product, and it's a beautiful product, and it has these use cases and will actually be around for the next 50 years as opposed to the next 5 months until the Discord dev says he just died or something, right? And so you need those people. And that's where we come back to the FAT thesis, which is founders. You need to attract those founders. And I believe that's the only moat a blockchain fundamentally has in the long term as well. So this is where the city analogy really comes to life, which is, are you a place that is attracting people who want to build real applications, who increase the GDP of your target market or something like that? And if you can do that, if you can get those people, right? So today, if you want to do a business, most people go to Silicon Valley. That is insane product market fit, and it's the exact same one that blockchains need, in my view.
More productive apps. I agree with that. At the end of it all. And yeah, I think that this is something we covered maybe around the Stripe and Bridge acquisition news, but I think there's a broad discomfort with the status quo of nothing in crypto ever IPOs, and the only way you can get an exit if you're an investor is through tokens. It's an uncomfortable kind of state of affairs, and one that probably shouldn't last forever. And you would think under a Trump administration, maybe it's a little easier for some of these crypto startups that are not Coinbase to also IPO, but that'll be an interesting one to look for in 2025. Okay.
That's actually huge.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched the Mark Andreessen and Joe Rogan episode yesterday, but like that's been happening for a while. Just even the threat of, and actually my co-founder Nick, yesterday, they looked up what he does, and it said Helios, and they did not give him a mortgage because we're not even a crypto company. Like, we don't have a token. We are a infrastructure company that provides crypto developers with software, and they didn't give him a mortgage. And so if they don't give him a mortgage, you can understand how hard it is to go public. And so once you have a clear regulatory environment, that changes. Like one of our customers is Exodus, which is a pretty big crypto wallet. It's very well known. And they were actually going to go public. I'm not sure if they did, but the day that they were going to go public, I believe SEC or Gensler was like, actually, we need to look at this a bit more. And so they just didn't. And so once that's removed, I think that helps. I don't think that's going to fix the issue because people obviously still can launch a token. But regulation, hopefully, actually, attract some founders who are a little more sensitive to the risk of regulation.
Well, it's a catch-22 because the regulation that keeps crypto from going public or crypto companies from going public is meant to protect investors from, kind of scams. But because crypto companies can't go public, you get lots of companies that shouldn't have a token launching tokens, and then retail essentially gets dumped on because they buy at insanely high FDVs. So it's like making crypto have to be worse, kind of, because companies, I'm not saying they have no choice, but if they want to book a return for their investors, they have no other choice than to launch a token. And there are startups in crypto that shouldn't have a token, I would argue. Not everyone should have a token, even though you've seen lots and lots of startups launch a token this year. Not Helios, though. Not yet. Still waiting on my Helios airdrop. But look, I want to. We've covered this Pump.fun debacle well. I'm curious, listeners, even as well, weigh in on this. DM me on Twitter, hop in the Lightspeed Telegram chat. It's an interesting conversation as far as what we should make of all the kind of Pump.fun stuff. And I'm curious to see if any of the usage of that app is affected by live streams going down. But in other news, because we should get to some other news at some point, one thing I wanted to get your take on, Mert, that I haven't had a chance to dive as deeply as I wanted to into, but I think you're a little more on the inside, is timely vote credits. I saw a post from Lane on Twitter about this. Essentially, it's, I believe, was passed through a SIMD, and it rewards validators for participating in Solana or reaching Solana consensus more quickly. But do you have kind of the scoop on this and how it's going to affect the validator role?
Yeah. So starting from the beginning, obviously when a block is produced, validators vote on it. And the sooner the network, let's say some percent of it, 33, 66% of it votes on it, then it's basically, depending on the commitment level, it's basically, you can say it's confirmed. And so you have pretty reasonable, actually very reasonable guarantee that it will not be rolled back. And so you can start building on top of it if you're like an app developer or something. Now, there are these things fork. So like, for example, let's say there's 2 blocks that are produced because it moves so fast. If you vote on the wrong one, or if you don't vote on the right one, then let's say there's like a small financial penalty, right? Where you don't make as much as you would have. And so what you can do, or what people used to be able to do, and some people did do this, which is why this is going live, is they would delay consensus. So they would vote on the correct fork, or let's say the correct sequence of blocks, after their turn had already ended, because you're much more confident that it'll be the correct one. And so if you keep doing this, you basically just delay the network from reaching consensus, but you slightly boost your own APY as the validator. And obviously, that is bad for the network because consensus slows down, the chain slows down somewhat as a result. And the bad actors are incentivized to do this because, assuming they don't care about the network, which they don't, they make more money. And so now it's changed to such a spot where you get up to, I believe, 20 credits. And like, if you vote within a timely manner, you get the full credits, and then it kind of just keeps going down over time. And so you're incentivized to speed up consensus and do it as fast as you can. So that's basically the idea. And then obviously, if you do that with those credits, you get more APY. And so you're financially incentivized to help the network improve consensus.
I'm curious why this wasn't a bigger problem, or maybe it was, but I don't think Solana block times were meaningfully slower or anything, or at least this is new to me, if so. But if there's like a financial incentive to delay consensus, I'm surprised more validators didn't do it. Why is it that, I don't know, like block times weren't affected, or maybe they were, but yeah, why wasn't everyone doing this? Is it just the kind of you want the best for the network type of outlook?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, first of all, if the bigger players are obviously not going to do that because their reputation will get ruined. And so it tends to be people with lesser stake in the network who are just trying to make more money by any means necessary. Um, and those people have to overlap with the people who don't care about the network, which is not that many. I don't have the full numbers on this. I know a bunch of teams who were doing this. And if you keep up with Solana Discord, let's say, this was actually brought to pass by a community member. A community validator saw that this was happening and was basically, at first we tried social things like stop doing this, or like tell stakers like, hey, you're staking to somebody who's really shitting on the network, etc. But obviously that doesn't work forever. And so at some point it has to be actually enforced. We'll see how it affects consensus. I don't look at the numbers. My DevRel did and my research guys. So I don't have the, let's say, the most accurate picture here, but like Solana block times are not deterministic, meaning that like it says 400 milliseconds, but it's not always 400 milliseconds. Sometimes it might be 450 milliseconds. Sometimes it might be 500 milliseconds, things like that. And so like these are super fast speeds. So like you're not going to be able to perceive it as a human, but like you can see it on the numbers if you're, let's say, a quant.
I would also think maybe that the economic gains would be kind of marginal, right? Because if you're doing like do validators vote correctly 99% of the time, or is it like 70%? Because if it's 99%, then you're getting like an extra 1% gain from doing this. So maybe it's not worth it at all. But is that involved here as well?
Yeah, I don't think it was a big boost. I believe like what people were unhappy with was that when you go to these validator sites and you scroll by, let's say, APY, then these guys would just be at the top, even if it's by 0.1 or 0.2. And so even that small enough amount is enough to kind of put you up, because most people have similar returns. There's like buckets depending on the commissions. And so you obviously want to be near the top as possible.
Okay, interesting. That makes sense. Are there other SIMDs we should be looking out for? What's your sense of how kind of the validator voting community is working these days? I haven't checked in on it in a little while.
Yeah, probably the ones that you should look at. There's one on dynamic inflation. There is one on sharing block rewards with stakers through an in-protocol mechanism, which would be pretty big for the economics. There is one for state compression being natively built into Solana through FireDancer, which would decrease, let's say, hardware costs, but also network costs in general, like for deploying programs or tokens. And so there's some good ones.
Well, look, I don't want to take too much more time here. My man has been on the content grind this whole evening, but I guess where I want to leave off, we are recording this on Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. And I know, at least for myself, I'm recording this from my parents' house. I'm going to be asked by family members at Thanksgiving to talk about crypto and what blockchains are and all these sorts of things. So I thought this could be an interesting moment to maybe ask Mert, like, what's your preferred way to explain to a non-crypto person why they should care? Or what to you is the most compelling, broad strokes explanation for what's valuable about crypto and all the stuff that you're building in the Solana world?
Well, we don't have Thanksgiving, so I haven't had to do this too much. But broad strokes is always very hard because everybody has a different background. Like, so if you were just trying to convince your parents that you made a good purchase on a car, I bet that your dad is going to ask different questions than your mom or your sister or your brother or whatever, your aunt or your grandpa, who's like, oh, whatever. Like, and so it really depends on that person's background. But fundamentally, you definitely don't want to use jargon words. Like, you don't want to say, oh, it's decentralized, it's super secure, and all this stuff. Generally, what I found in these dinners and stuff is like, some of these people will know the coins that I don't know, and they'll be like, "Oh, you know, the thing is going up." Like, they share about, "Oh, the thing goes up." They liken it to stocks, and so that's one framing. If you want to be a bit more ideological, then you can say it's a better financial system, right? You can remind them of all the times that, hey, remember when you used to have to go into the bank to do a wire transfer to another country, which I still have to do, by the way. So that's it doesn't even have to be an old person. Well, now you can do it permissionlessly on the internet. So it's magical permissionless internet finance, and it works just the same. It's more efficient. It's a better financial system. So that's like the framing that I would go with. But again, I would probably ask them, and I do ask them, like, hey, what is your background on this? Like, are you an accountant? Are you a basket weaver? For example, my tattoo artist, when I go, like, I have a bunch of tattoos, he'd ask me, and then I would talk to him about, let's say, the creator and the art section of crypto, where I'd be like, hey, like, you could probably put some of this art on a blockchain and sell it directly to your, let's say, fans, right? Versus with my dad, it's like he cares about, hey, I gave you money, like, make it go up, right? So it really just depends.
That's all the time we have for today, Mert. Thank you for joining. It's been a good time. Check out his CNBC interview when it drops. And for our U.S. listeners, have a great Thanksgiving. For our non-U.S. listeners, have a great week. We'll catch you in the next one.